So I'm going to make a statement. Rwanda is the Chiang Mai of Africa. If you're just a nomad, if you're a traveler, you'll know what I mean. I'm going to explain it this way. So I lived in Thailand for quite a while. I've been there 4 or 5 times, and I usually stay 2-3 months at a time. I love it. Thailand's like my favorite country of all time. Specifically, I love Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai is in the north of Thailand. It's just kind of like mountain town. It's kind of sleepy, but there's a lot of people who go there, like this is nomads, to live and work. There's a big community of expats. Things are extremely convenient. It's safe. It's clean. It's kind of calm. And one comparison that I don't think people make much, because Africa's not as much of a digital nomad hotspot, is I think Rwanda, and specifically Kigali, of course, is the Chiang Mai of Africa. If I look around Rwanda, it has that same feel. Like it's mountainous, it's beautiful, it's very calm, it's very peaceful. You know, there's a lot of things you need here, like coffee shops and food and delivery services. There's a network of entrepreneurs and the tech scene growing. The feeling I'm having here is very reminiscent of Chiang Mai. And Chiang Mai is probably like, Chiang Mai and Bali are probably the number 1 and number 2 hotspots for nomads. I'm making a prediction, a bet. Kigali is going to be the next nomad hotspot because it has all the conveniences and it is just incredible. It reminds me so much of those places. So one nice part about being in Rwanda, and specifically this time zone, is I feel like I have more freedom and time to actually do other things rather than the normal day-to-day grind. You know, in Los Angeles, I wake up to 8 a.m., I'll go work out, go to boxing, get to work, calls, nighttime comes, I'm making dinner, I'm doing errands, and I go to bed. The cool part over here is like during the day, I have a lot of time to myself. Most of the time, of course, I'm working, but I don't have calls. It's not as busy. It feels just kind of calm. So I've been doing a lot of reading. And one book that was recommended to me that I just came across is called 4,000 Weeks. And the concept is this, you know, how many weeks do you actually think you have to live? And the answer, which you probably know, is 4,000 on average. That's how many weeks you have. That's all you have is 4,000 weeks. That's it. And the concept of the book is like, you can't do everything you want to. Just in that limited amount of time, it is impossible to do everything you want to. And the things you want will constantly change and evolve. It's endless. And this also makes me think of the concept I talked about before, which is the life bank account. Now, I'm 36 now, just turned 36, and I had this realization recently. If I lived on like 80, 81, that means I have like something like 300,000 hours. Okay, that sounds like it's a lot of hours. It's pretty good. Then I thought about like, okay, well, 8 hours are gone for sleep. 8 hours are gone for like working hours. So really I have 8 extra hours left in the day. But that's not all my free time. Like I have obligations, right? You're gonna have to do cooking, errands, like whatever responsibilities you have. So maybe if you're lucky, you probably have about 4 disposable hours in the day to devote. That's just purely your own time. If I do the math from my age right now to, let's say, if I'm 80 or 81 and that's when I pass away, that's like 64,000 hours, which is nothing, right? And then I take it one level further. I said, okay, well, pretend instead of hours, let's put in a concept I could understand, which is money. Pretend in your bank account you only had $64,000. That's it. Like that sounds like not enough to live on, right? Now, if someone came up to you and said, hey, dude, can I have $10? Can I have $1? You'd be like, no, absolutely not. I only have $64,000, which is time left, and then I'm gone. And this life bank account, there's no overdraft. There's no filing for bankruptcy and starting over. When you're done, right? That's what the life bank account is. And it kind of goes back to the concept of both the 4,000 Hours book as well as the life bank account, which is our time is so finite and so limited. Actually, I don't know, maybe I'm having like a midlife crisis right now, but I keep thinking about this concept of how much limited time we have. And for me, especially like, I'd say, you know, in my 20s, 30s even, I'm constantly optimizing for trying to do as much as I can. You know, I want to actualize my potential. I want to go to see as many places as I can. And I think that's great. But what I'm starting to realize now is like, maybe it's not about building up the resume of things you've done. Maybe it's about just enjoying the things you are doing even more, which sounds so, I don't know, normal, basic. But many times, at least for me, like I've traveled to, 55, 60 countries. And a lot of it was because I wanted to, right? Because I want to experience something. I want to do something different, which is fantastic. But I do think there was a chunk of that, which is just, I wanted to make sure I maximize my short period of time on Earth. And I think the realization I'm coming to, especially with a lot of this free time, to understand that I don't really have that much time left, is that it's not really about like the quantity of things you do, but how you actually experience them. I met a guy, I remember one time, I was in South Africa, I was at a hostel, and he was an American guy, and he's like, proudly said he's older, maybe 50, 60. He's like, oh, I've been to 145 countries. And then he was telling me about something, and I was like, oh, how was like Romania? He's like, oh, it was awful. Like it was just crap. And I was like, okay, how was this other place you went to? And he's like, oh, like the food sucked, the weather sucked, it was just crap. And I remember thinking like, dude, you've been to 140 or 150 countries and you have not learned a single thing about how to travel and how to experience life. Like just because you've done a lot doesn't actually give you the wisdom of it. I think that goes to a lot of times like what I'm working on, what a lot of us are working on is just because you go through the motions of checking off a bucket list. I've exited a company. I've scaled a business. I've added 5 companies to my portfolio. I've gone to this many countries. It doesn't really mean much unless you actually sit back and actually enjoy the moment, learn from the moment, understand it a little bit more. So my point is I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional when I'm here, actually not come here with an agenda and say, I must do this to maximize my time in Africa. I just kind of want to let it ride, right? And see what happens, try to enjoy, try to be a little bit more present, just something I'm working on right now. So one thing I'm pretty pumped about is next week, my mom is actually coming to visit us in Kigali. She's going to be here for 10 days. So my parents were immigrants to the US. They went to the US with like $20 in their pocket. My dad's first job was at a 712. I shit you not. It was a 712. It was a bootleg 7-Eleven. Typical, American dream story. They grinded, they saved, they opened up video rental stores. They made the American dream, and, they worked their whole life. My dad had a video rental store for 32 years. Worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and just grinded and, helped raise my sister and I and stuff like that. So my parents never really traveled that much. They just couldn't, right? They were stuck with their business. They were in the US. They didn't have as much money. So when I started traveling, I left the US in 2015 and I was backpacking. As much as I could, I'll try to bring my parents out. So my mom has been with me to Nicaragua. We went to Mexico. Both my parents came to Spain. We went to Thailand. We went to India. And for me, I just kind of I enjoy sharing something I love with them. And I think it feels really cool that they could travel now, or they could travel, at least when I was getting older and I can bring them to places and I could organize things. My dad passed 2 years ago from pancreatic cancer. So my mother's been alone, and she's in India right now visiting some friends. And the cool part now, and I think the coolest part of me running a business and making some money, getting credit card points and stuff, is actually just treating my mom. I want to make sure she's happy. She's 70 years old plus now. So I'm actually flying her business class out here. We flew her business class to India. She's flying business class here. She's flying business class back home. And I don't buy business class for myself. I just can't bring myself to actually spend the money to do that. But it feels nice because I know my mother would never spend the money on herself. Typical immigrant mentality. She'd get mad if she found out we had a cleaner over here that we're paying. She's like, why are you just doing this yourself? Why don't you save some money? So it feels kind of good just to treat my mom and make sure she's happy. And I'm excited for her to come here and just enjoy the adventure. I think she has no idea what Africa is going to be like. She probably has an image in her head. I'm excited to just show her the epic views, how beautiful it is in Rwanda, how nice it is, and just hang out with her and enjoy her time. So yeah, I feel fortunate to be able to treat my mom. I think that's something I value a lot. So I've now been in Rwanda for a little bit over 2 months. I just want to tell you about my experience here so far. There's something called a culture shock curve. And it's an interesting graph where you're in a country and you're riding a high, right? Everything's freaking awesome in your honeymoon phase, and there's kind of a dip. And the dip, you're like, oh my God, I'm homesick, I'm frustrated at things. And there's kind of a point where you kind of level out for the new normal. I think I finally, after 2 months, have hit the point of leveling out. There's some things which I love here, and there's some things which were getting on my nerves. And things which are getting on my nerves are things which American convenience stuff. In America, everything's very timely, everything's very convenient, you have access to a lot of things. And other places, for example, over here, it's not like that, right? There's a little bit more inconvenience of things you do. It made me think a lot about how in Western society, many times we optimize almost too much for convenience. So I'll tell you what I mean. A couple years ago, I stayed with this African hunter-gatherer tribe. Different story for another day. I stayed with them for 2 days. We went on a hunt together. We did all this kind of stuff. We sat down around the fire after going hunting one time. And, they were sitting on the ground. They didn't have sweaters and stuff. And I asked the main leader, through a translator, hey, why don't you buy a stool? Why don't you take some money? Why are you living this way? Medicine, don't you get cold? Why are you doing this? Things could be a lot easier for you. Get a freaking bed, And his answer was basically, why do I need that kind of stuff? He was very confused. He was just why do I actually need a stool? What am I going to do with the stool? My answer was be more comfortable. And then he was kind of just why? I'm happy as I am right now. Why would I need to do that? And it kind of got me to thinking. I remember the time I thought it was very profound. And now I'm kind of, went back to the US, got back in comfort mode, and now I'm back over here and there's a lot more inconveniences, and it makes me think a little bit more. My point of the story is that I feel like we optimize way too much for convenience in the Western world, myself included. You have Amazon, you get your delivery in 2 hours, you could shop online, everything's timely, you could DoorDash. We're constantly optimizing for convenience. We get a bigger house because it's more convenient. We move somewhere else because it commutes less. There's so much that we optimize for convenience. I'm not really convinced anymore that convenience equals more happiness. I don't think it does. Yet for some reason, a lot of times we aspire to do more things, sell your company for a lot of money, make a lot of money, make 10 grand a month, whatever, to get more comfort, to get more convenience. When the truth is that the functionality doesn't make sense. sense. The equation doesn't make sense. Convenience does not necessarily equal happiness. Why are we constantly killing ourselves to try and get more convenience, right? And I remember here, I was getting so frustrated because people would not show up on time. It's hard to even get the water. Like there were so many things that were inconvenient, and I was getting annoyed. And finally, I kind of sat back and realized, like, it's kind of okay, if things are not convenient. In fact, like I feel like it adds a little bit more meaning in an odd way to do these menial tasks, like walking to go pick up the water bottle back over here, right? Just because I need it, or walking to the grocery store instead of getting things delivered all the time. Like there are things I like which are convenient, which I don't want to do. But my point, I just think in the Western world we optimize for convenience too much, and the fact that I'm in this environment, which is forcing me to deal with the inconvenient, has made me realize convenience does not mean happiness, and I think it's a pleasant reminder. One thing which has been really interesting is how social my life has gotten over here in Rwanda, which is funny because I don't really know many people. It's not like any of my best friends are over here. My wife and I came here and loosely knew some people just through work at the hospital, but that was kind of it. And it kind of reminded me of like, when I was backpacking and traveling. And typically what happens is when you go to a foreign place, you see other foreigners, you kind of band together because of a commonality that you're all in a foreign place, you're all excited to be there. You don't know anyone else, and you end up forming friendships really quickly. And I've noticed that start to happen here more. Like, we went last weekend, and a group of people did a road trip to go to Nyangwe, which is in South Rwanda, to do a marathon. So we joined them. We're going to join them to go camping in the safari lands in East Africa and Akigera in a couple weeks. So yeah, I'm seeing so many people just around Kigali who I know just from like the boxing gym and other different places. And there's like so many activities that my wife and I end up going to. Like we sat courtside at a basketball game for the Rwandan Basketball League. There's music conferences, there's dance battles, there's like all these things that we're actually doing. And the funny part is I'm from Los Angeles. We live in Los Angeles. We live in West Hollywood, Los Angeles, like the mecca of where things are happening. And in LA, there's unlimited things to do. Like you could do 5 concerts per night if you really wanted to. But we end up not doing any of that kind of stuff. And the funny part in LA is if we want to see our friends, I feel like we have to plan like a month or 2 months in advance. Everyone kind of gets so busy in their life. And I don't know if this is just a general hometown thing. It's a Los Angeles thing, whatever. I just feel like when you're in your hometown and you're where you normally are, everyone gets so wrapped up in the day-to-day life and their routine, and things start moving really fast. Versus when you're somewhere kind of new, kind of exciting, things slow down because you want to do more. You want to experience more. You want to make more connections. And just that desire with all the other expats in the area to do that makes life so much more social. So we're actually tonight going to a Rwandan soccer game, and we just messaged a couple people loosely now and say we're going to go there, and they're down. It's not like, hey, I need to call the babysitter. Oh, I made plans like already. Sorry, I can't go. It's just like everyone's just down to do stuff. So oddly enough, our life has gotten very social in Rwanda, and I'm happy for it. All right, time to work. It's getting to be about 2 o'clock. Call is coming up. Today, I'm going to be focused on a couple franchise inquiry calls, people interested in franchising. Usually they'll talk to me at the end when they're ready to commit, things like that. I'll answer questions. So a few of those today. Fridays, I try to keep lighter. I actually block off my schedule mostly on purpose just to let serendipity happen and be able to do cool things. If they come up, like I went to the convention today and my wife and I will hang out later today. So I try to keep it lighter, and that's the beauty of having kind of your own business too, so you can set the rules you want. Typically at the beginning, you're doing a little bit of everything, but as you scale, as you add team members, as you travel to remote places, you could actually set the schedule you want. And for me, that's the most fortunate. I cannot stand someone else telling me where to be, when I have to work, when to be online. I don't have flexibility. I think that's the most fortunate part about running your own business is the flexibility, the time capacity to have control of your own time, which is your most valuable commodity, right? So I try to keep Fridays light. I try to pack in my meetings stuff earlier in the week, try to pack important calls early in the week, and still just keep a few slots open on Friday. Typically, I like to keep it for either sales and new franchises coming in. I have a calendar just for connecting. I think it's important to carve out time to just like build connections with people. So, call it networking. I hate that word. Just connecting with new people I meet online and just like carving out 15-minute slots. So about to get to that. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your time. Just let me know what other questions you have around traveling, digital nomad life in Rwanda, whatever. I'll make another video to answer them. Also, if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to comment below. I will answer personally as well. Thanks again so much, and I'll see you soon.